Why do so many doctors still repeat super outdated and bad nutrition advice, like eggs will destroy your heart, saturated fats are always bad for you, or that all supplements are snake oil? You would think that after years and years of medical school, a doctor would know everything there is to know about health, especially something as basic and fundamental as what we eat. But the truth is, most of them don't, and it's not even their fault. It's how the system is set up, and in this video, I want to explain why. So, to get the most important thing out of the way in the beginning, the biggest reason is that nutrition is barely taught in medical school. There's a quote from Morley Robbins that sums this up perfectly. Despite their 8 years or more of formal training that they devote to becoming doctors, medical school students receive virtually no education at all about overall nutrition, let alone mineral metabolism. Case in point, as I write this year's graduating class at the University of North Carolina Medical School received a total of only 36 minutes of formal nutrition education during their entire 4 years of medical school training. This is crazy. 36 minutes isn't even a full lecture, and other universities aren't much better. Imagine trying to understand something as complex as the human metabolism, nutrients, gut health, and inflammation in under half an hour. It's not going to happen. Now, of course, this is a very extreme example, but the data shows that most medical professionals themselves admit that this is a problem. In a 2019 survey, 86% of physicians reported that they feel unqualified to offer nutritional advice to patients. And a meta-study even concluded that nutrition is insufficiently incorporated into medical education, regardless of country, setting, or year of medical education. But most of us still expect doctors to be nutrition experts by default. We just assume that because they are experts in a field that's related to health, they're also experts in nutrition, which obviously isn't true. Another problem is that medical training is mostly reactive, while nutrition is mostly proactive. To really understand why doctors often struggle with giving solid nutrition advice, you have to understand the model behind most medical training, which goes something like this. First, you have symptoms, then you have examination and tests, then you have a diagnosis, and then you have the treatment. So if you go to your doctor and say, I have chest pain, then they will run some tests and probably blood work, try to figure out where and what the issue is, and then treat it accordingly, maybe with medication or maybe with a specific procedure. This system works very well when there's a clear problem with a clear solution. But nutrition doesn't really fit into this model. Let's say that you go to your doctor and say, I feel tired all the time, my digestion's off, and I'm not sleeping very well. These symptoms are all vague and they don't point to one clear disease. And more importantly, standard blood tests probably won't show anything wrong. And when most doctors haven't been trained to dig into diet and nutrient levels, then they will reach for what they know best, a diagnosis if that's possible, and a prescription. If nothing shows up on your tests, then they will either say that everything is fine, or they will suggest something to help lower stress, because everyone knows that stress does affect how you feel. What you have to understand is that medical training is built on diagnosing diseases and matching those diseases with certain treatments. And that makes sense for things like infections, broken bones, or emergencies. But when it comes to more complex issues like chronic fatigue, poor immunity, or similar vague conditions, then this model doesn't help very much. Also, nutrition is very different from this model because it's a long-term game that's mostly about building health from the ground up and trying to avoid health problems before they set in. It focuses on health span instead of lifespan. Now, I'm not saying that one approach is better than the other. Both have their place. And if you're having a heart attack, you wouldn't go to a nutritionist. You want a doctor in that case. You want the ambulance, the ER team, the cardiologist, and everyone at the hospital doing the best they can to help you survive. And they are very good at that. But if you need someone to help you build a healthier diet, then you need a different system. That's why people often feel let down when they go to the doctor with vague but very real symptoms and then get told that their labs are fine and that they just need to lower stress. It's not that their doctor is dismissive on purpose. It's that they're using a framework that's designed for disease management instead of health management. And then there's also the problem of how many doctors don't follow their own advice. There's a common belief that doctors must be the healthiest people around. I mean, they've studied the body in depth, know how diseases develop, and talk about this stuff all day. In reality, most doctors don't follow their own advice, and in some areas they're actually worse than the general public. For example, in one study of over 7,000 physicians, 46% reported at least one symptom of burnout, and only 49% reported satisfaction with their work-life balance. And on average, 1 in 3 physicians is experiencing burnout at any given time. Doctors also tend to sleep less than the average person, and 10 to 12% of physicians will develop a substance abuse problem during their careers, which is a rate that's also higher than average. Probably the most ironic stat is that around 25% skip or delay their own health checkups, either because they're too busy, in denial, or feel like they should be able to handle it themselves. So what does all of that mean? It means that being a medical expert doesn't automatically make someone a model of good health. It also shows how the demands of the profession, so the long hours, the high stress, and the emotionally draining work, can lead to burnout, poor sleep, and mental health struggles. And when someone isn't feeling well themselves, how much time or energy do you think they are putting into researching nutrition or optimal diet protocols? This isn't about blaming doctors, by the way. Most of them genuinely want to help you and are under incredible amounts of pressure. Keep in mind that the average primary care visit in the US is only about 15 minutes. That's barely enough time to go through your symptoms, let alone talk about your meal plan. So it's very important to recognize that even great people can be limited by the systems that they work in, and that medical expertise doesn't always equal wellness expertise. This brings me to my last point, which is that people who are knowledgeable in nutrition are usually self-taught, and they're motivated by personal reasons. The experts that I trust and learn from usually got into this for one of two reasons. One, they wanted to optimize their health and performance, or two, they got so sick that they had no other choice but to look into this. I can only speak for myself, but especially the second one is a huge motivator. If you have to figure out what's wrong with you because otherwise you cannot live a normal life, you get very hungry for knowledge. You start reading studies, trying all kinds of protocols and diets, talking to people who've been through this themselves and from different backgrounds from around the world. And over time, you build up a very good understanding of how food affects your body. This kind of self-driven learning isn't really something that you can fake. So if you want really practical nutrition advice, it often comes from people who've had to fight to get healthy themselves. This group can definitely include doctors as well, but it's often former patients or someone who had to think outside the box to fix their symptoms. To wrap up this video, please let me say again that none of this is about blaming doctors. Most of them are doing the best they can with the tools that they were given. The real issue is that we're expecting them to fulfill a role that they weren't prepared for. And that's where you come in. Because at the end of the day, no one cares more about your health than you do. You're the one living in your body, and you're also the one who gets to take ownership of your healing journey. That doesn't mean you have to do everything alone. It just means that your job is to ask questions and to stay curious. That can involve a lot of things. So working with a doctor you trust, a nutritionist, a coach, or diving into the research yourself. You have to make this your responsibility. If you don't know where to start, make sure to check out the video description for more free resources and my programs. They will help you if you're looking for step-by-step systems on topics such as detox, diet planning, and chronic fatigue recovery. It will also help you avoid the most common mistakes that I see beginners make all the time. For more info, just open the description. It will all be listed there.